I guess sometimes it might be okay to be not popular. Welcome to my channel, everyone. Dog Walker Dave here. Today on the channel, I'm going to give you my review of the HOKA Speedgoat 5. Now, maybe unlike some of the other sneaker YouTube reviewers for running shoes, I'm going to give a slightly different take on the very popular Speedgoat line. This is number 5 in the series. What I'm not going to do, I am not going to go over all the specs, stack heights, lug depth, all the different materials used in the shoe construction. There's enough people on the internet that will do that. I'm just going to give you my personal thoughts on wearing this shoe for a few weeks now over many different types of terrain. And what I'm about to say might not be the most popular thing to say on the internet, but these are my thoughts. I guess the good thing is that if it's any consolation, HOKA did not provide me with these shoes, nor did any running store for that matter. And I managed to get my hands on a size 10.5 in my size from a store called Strides here in Calgary. And this was the last pair of 10.5s that I could find in the entire city. And I know they're very hard to find. And the good thing is that since I paid for these with my own money, I'm going to give an unbiased review. I do realize that many of the running shoe YouTubers out there, or just people who are into running and they review shoes once in a while, they get shoes sent to them from different companies, maybe even just some running stores. My take on this, and I could be completely wrong, but when they say that these are my thoughts and nobody's being compensated and all this kind of stuff, is that still in the back of your head, if you get a pair of running shoes or any gear for that matter for free, you're probably not going to be 100% honest on how these shoes are for you if you want to have a relationship with that manufacturer or that running shoe store. So that's the only consolation, I guess, is me giving my opinion on how these shoes are. So what I'm going to do is just go over how they have treated me so far, what are the positives and what are the drawbacks for these Speedgoat 5s. First thing to note, I will mention that this is the very first pair of HOKAs I have ever had. I've had a lot of different running shoe brands, a lot over the last 37 or so years. My go-to running trail shoes have been Salomon and more recently the Saucony Peregrine, but I decided to give the Speedgoat 5 a try since they're brand new on the market. A lot of people are raving about them. Now here's my take. First of all, I'm going to go over what the grip is like, what the upper's like, what the midsole is like to run in over many different types of terrain. I'm going to start with the grip. We're dealing with a very sticky rubber compound, 5 mil depth. I know I didn't want to go into many of the stats, but it's a great lug depth, and these things are awesome on all types of terrain except for mud. Really thick mud that I had a chance to run through. Now, just in my experience, I have never had a pair of shoes that are extremely good in a lot of mud, because what happens is that even though you have great spacing on this and great lug depth and great sticky compound, mud gets stuck in between these lugs, and it doesn't matter what you're wearing for shoes, they will still cake with mud and they become ineffective in really muddy situations. But going over gravel, regular trails, rocks, they're fantastic grip. Right up there with my Salomons, right up there with my Peregrines, and these things put Nikes to shame. Nike could use a lot by using some of these different rubber compounds for their. Second thing, having this much midsole stack height is like having pillows on your feet. Oh man, they are comfortable. I have never had a pair of HOKAs, as I mentioned. Never run in a trail shoe with this much stack height. They are, they are comfortable. They are so comfortable. I don't know why I didn't try a pair of these years ago. You don't notice any rocks underfoot, even though there's no rock plate. It's because of this stack height on the midsole. Very comfortable, especially when you come over from Salomon, which are known to have a little bit firmer override, and my Saucony Peregrines that I had last year that have quite a firm ride as well. I'll say it again, very comfortable. Next up, the upper. This dual layered mesh, a little bit of the neoprene material at the end of the laces here, forgiving. The tongue is very comfortable, but, and here's the big but, and I know there are a few running YouTubers out there that mention the same thing, this upper gives a lot. It is really tough to lock these shoes down, and I have quite a narrow foot actually. I find these actually kind of wide, but that's just for me. And I know that some people will say, hey, Hokas, they're never wide. They're very narrow. I find them quite wide, and possibly it's because the upper is so stretchy, snug around the foot, feels very nice. But the problem is when you're bombing downhill, my feet were moving way too much in these running shoes, and I did not feel safe going on technical terrain going downhill. The heel tab that they have here that bends out, I think they call it a swallowtail. Notice anything on your Achilles tendon, so that's a nice plus. I know that some people were mentioning that, well, there's probably going to be rocks getting in the back of your heel collar in behind your Achilles. That's probably the case, but I have never had any issues whatsoever with anything, any debris going in the back of my heel. Now, the one last thing I'm going to mention, just in my experience again, and this is because of my anatomy, possibly, I don't know, maybe if anybody else is having the same problem out there, hit me up in the comments below and let me know what's going on in your experience with these. But I find this heel collar, which is this part here on the running shoe, right here, for me, it goes up too high, and what it ends up doing is rubbing on what's called my lateral malleolus. Everybody knows it as the ankle bone, my outside ankle bone, lateral malleolus, and it digs in right underneath the bottom of that, especially when I'm going over technical terrain and my foot's moving a lot laterally and this way as well, torsionally. That digs into my heel and it is not comfortable. And it's almost like there's a little bit of a band right around here that it's not a plastic material, but it is not very forgiving at all. That's just for my foot, but I find that to be very irritating on any of the runs I've done with this, and even for some of the hikes that I've done for that matter. Well, there you go. That's probably one of the most unpopular reviews on a pair of HOKA Speedgoats on the internet right now. Overall, do I like the shoe? What do I like about it? The cushioning, the grip, the comfort around the top of your foot with the tongue and that little bit of neoprene. But, and these are big buts for me, my foot moves around way too much on the inside of it, and that little bit on the outside of my right ankle, specifically my right one, but it annoys the heck out of my left one as well, but not as bad as my right one. That for me, those are deal breakers. So what am I going to use these shoes for? I'm going to continue to hike in them, and I will use them for shorter trail runs under an hour or so, because that, especially that ankle problem, that would give me a tremendous amount of grief over a long 50 or above kilometer trail run or race. So unfortunately, these are not really it for me. I'm sorry, Hoka. That's just my thoughts on the Speedgoat 5. I'm going to keep them. I honestly wish I could sell them off to someone right now, and maybe I'll even try it, because that, my friends, that's a big problem for me. If I could take the midsole and the grip from this shoe and put it on another shoe that is not irritating me down here, and without my foot moving around like it is on this one, oh, we would have it. We would have the shoe that would be perfect for me. Maybe you feel differently. Thanks for watching, everyone. Sorry if I wasn't the most positive person about a pair of running shoes on here, but I do want to give my honest opinion. I'm not swayed by anyone, any company, any store. Those are just my thoughts. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you made it this far, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. That would really help me out. Have a great day. Get outside. Peace. Dog spinning, barking.